When a Sigma male walks away from relationships, social circles, or professional environments, something extraordinary happens in the vacuum they leave behind. I'm going to reveal why the disappearance of a Sigma man creates such a powerful psychological impact on those left behind, and why understanding this dynamic is crucial for any man seeking to master genuine social influence. The Sigma male, independent, self-sufficient, and operating outside conventional social hierarchies, possesses a unique form of power that often goes unrecognized until it's suddenly absent. This video breaks down the psychological mechanics of what happens when a Sigma male strategically removes himself from any situation. Before we dive deeper, if you're committed to understanding the authentic Sigma mindset rather than the superficial stereotypes, hit the subscribe button now. This channel provides actionable insights backed by psychological principles that you won't find in mainstream content about masculinity. Subscribe now to join thousands of men who are mastering genuine Sigma traits rather than just mimicking the surface-level behaviors. Strategic solitude. The first principle to understand about Sigma disappearance is that it's rarely impulsive or emotional. When a Sigma male distances himself from people, environments, or situations, there's typically a calculated reason behind it. Unlike alphas who might make dramatic exits to demonstrate power, or betas who withdraw due to emotional hurt, the Sigma's departure is strategic and purposeful. In my consultation with hundreds of men transitioning into Sigma mindsets, I've observed a common pattern. The strategic withdrawal serves multiple functions simultaneously. First, it creates space for personal growth and reflection. The Sigma prioritizes his own development above maintaining social connections that no longer serve him. Second, it establishes clear boundaries about what the Sigma will and won't tolerate in his relationships. Consider the case of Michael, a client who consistently found himself in a friendship group that drained his energy and diverted him from his key goals. Rather than confronting the group or creating conflict, he systematically reduced his availability, redirected his focus to his personal projects, and eventually disappeared completely from their social circle. The results were remarkable. Within months, former friends were reaching out persistently, offering value and respect that had been absent before. This strategic solitude isn't about manipulation. It's about valuing yourself enough to remove your presence from environments where it isn't properly appreciated. The Sigma male understands that his time and energy are his most valuable assets, and he allocates them accordingly. When implemented correctly, strategic solitude creates a psychological trigger in others. They begin to recognize the value that was previously taken for granted. The Sigma doesn't disappear to be noticed. He disappears because he has better places to direct his attention. This authentic prioritization of his own path naturally creates intrigue and respect. The key to mastering this principle is maintaining inner clarity about your motivations. If you're withdrawing to manipulate others into giving you attention, you're operating from insecurity rather than strength. True Sigma strategic solitude comes from genuine self-prioritization and the discipline to walk away from situations that don't serve your ultimate vision. Silent power dynamics. The second crucial aspect of Sigma disappearance involves the silent power dynamics that activate when a Sigma male removes himself from a social system. Unlike conventional power plays that require demonstration and assertion, the Sigma's absence creates a power vacuum that speaks volumes without a single word being uttered. In traditional social hierarchies, power is often visibly contested and displayed. Alphas assert dominance through direct confrontation and leadership, while betas seek validation through compliance and support. The Sigma, however, exercises power differently, through selective engagement and strategic absence. When a Sigma man who previously contributed value, perspective, and a unique energy to any group suddenly disappears, his absence disrupts the established equilibrium. People who previously took his presence for granted suddenly feel the void. This isn't about ego or revenge. It's simply the natural consequence of removing a significant element from any system. I've documented dozens of cases where high-value Sigma men who step back from professional teams, social circles, or even romantic relationships created unintentional power shifts. James, an engineering team member who operated with quiet competence, decided to transfer departments after months of having his ideas overlooked. Within weeks, his former team was struggling with problems he would have easily solved, and his new team quickly recognized and utilized his capabilities. The silent power dynamic works because it triggers several psychological mechanisms simultaneously. The scarcity principle, we value what becomes rare. Loss aversion, we feel losses more acutely than gains. And cognitive dissonance, we must reconcile our previous undervaluation with our current sense of loss. For the Sigma male, understanding these dynamics isn't about manipulation, but about recognizing the natural consequences of his choices. When you provide genuine value and then redirect that value elsewhere, people inevitably feel the difference. This isn't about manufacturing artificial scarcity, it's about allocating your genuine capabilities where they're truly appreciated. Chapter 3. The Inevitable Absence. When a Sigma male reaches his limit with a situation, his departure isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Unlike other personality types who might tolerate disrespect or undervaluation due to social dependency, the Sigma's self-sufficient nature means he has absolutely no need to remain in environments that don't serve his purpose or respect his boundaries. This inevitability creates a fascinating psychological dynamic. Most people operate with an unconscious assumption that others will tolerate mistreatment to maintain social connections. The Sigma male shatters this assumption completely, which often catches people off guard when it finally happens. Consider the case of Thomas, a highly skilled professional who quietly contributed to his company for years while being consistently overlooked for advancement. His colleagues and management had grown accustomed to his reliable presence and exceptional work. When a competitor offered him a position that properly valued his abilities, he left without dramatic announcements or negotiations. His former company scrambled to replace him, suddenly realizing the massive contribution he had been making all along. The Sigma disappearance follows a recognizable pattern. First, there's a period of quiet evaluation where the Sigma assesses whether a situation aligns with his values and goals. Second, there's a period of reduced investment where he begins redirecting his energy toward more promising opportunities. Finally, there's the clean break, often without explanation or drama, that leaves others wondering what happened. This isn't about being cold or callous, it's about having clear boundaries and the self-respect to enforce them. The Sigma male doesn't need to announce his boundaries loudly, he simply acts on them when they're crossed. This pattern applies equally to professional relationships, friendships, and even romantic connections. What makes the Sigma's absence particularly powerful is that it's not a temporary tactic. It's a permanent reallocation of his resources. When people realize the Sigma isn't coming back, they're forced to confront the real value he brought and the legitimate reasons behind his departure. Chapter 4. When respect replaces pursuit. In the aftermath of a Sigma disappearance, something remarkable happens in the social dynamic. Pursuit is replaced by genuine respect. This represents a fundamental shift in how others relate to the Sigma male, and it reveals important truths about authentic social value. Most social interactions operate on subtle pursuit dynamics. people seek attention, validation, inclusion, or status. The Sigma male's departure disrupts this pattern because he demonstrates a willingness to walk away from the entire game. This signals extraordinary self-confidence and inner security, qualities that command natural respect. I've documented this phenomenon repeatedly in coaching sessions. Marcus, a Sigma client, had been perpetually chasing approval in his friend group, always available whenever they called. After working on his Sigma traits, he began investing in his own projects and became selectively available. Within months, the same friends who had taken him for granted were seeking his opinion, respecting his time, and valuing his presence in unprecedented ways. This transformation occurs because the pursuit dynamic creates an inherent inequality. The pursuer subtly positions themselves as lower value than the pursued. When the Sigma removes himself from this equation entirely, it forces a complete recalibration of how others perceive his value. The respect that emerges post-disappearance is qualitatively different from the attention that might have existed before. It's not based on people-pleasing or performance, but on the recognition of the Sigma's inherent value and independence. This respect manifests in several observable ways. Others become more thoughtful about how they use his time, they listen more attentively to his perspectives, and they make greater efforts to provide value in return. For the Sigma male, this shift from being pursued to being respected represents the difference between superficial social validation and authentic human connection. The connections that remain or develop after a Sigma disappearance tend to be more equal, more genuine, and ultimately more satisfying for all involved. Chapter 5. The Void of True Value. When a Sigma male disappears from any environment, his absence creates a void that's proportional to his true value, not his claimed value or social status. This void reveals the authentic contribution he was making, often in ways that weren't fully appreciated until they were gone. Unlike the alpha who ensures everyone recognizes his contributions, or the beta who seeks validation for his efforts, the Sigma typically adds value quietly and without fanfare. His contributions might include unique perspectives in group discussions, reliable execution of important tasks, emotional stability during crises, or simply the authentic energy he brings to interactions. The disappearance of a Sigma creates what psychologists call a contrast effect. The sudden absence highlights what was previously present but unnoticed. This effect is particularly powerful when it comes to subtle forms of value that aren't easily quantified or acknowledged in conventional social currencies. Jason, a Sigma client in my practice, had been the emotional backbone of his family for years, providing steady support, wise counsel, and conflict resolution without recognition. When he finally established firm boundaries and stepped back from this role after years of being taken for granted, the family system fell into dysfunction. Only then did they recognize the immense value he had been providing all along. What makes this void so powerful is that it can't be manufactured or faked. The size of the void directly correlates with the genuine value the Sigma was providing. This creates a natural consequence system that's perfectly calibrated. Those who truly valued the Sigma feel his absence more acutely, while those who didn't benefit from his presence barely notice the difference. For the Sigma male, understanding this principle provides valuable feedback about where his energy was actually making a difference. The patterns of who reaches out after his disappearance, who struggles in his absence, and who barely notices tell him exactly where his contributions were truly valued. Chapter 6. Psychological Impact of Sigma Disappearance. The disappearance of a Sigma male triggers a cascade of psychological effects in those left behind. Understanding these effects provides valuable insight into human social dynamics and explains why the Sigma absence creates such a powerful impact. First, there's the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds fixate on unfinished business and incomplete interactions. When a Sigma disappears without dramatic closure, he creates a psychological open loop that continues to occupy mental space in those left behind. Unlike messy, emotional breakups that provide closure through conflict, the clean Sigma exit keeps others mentally engaged with his absence. Second, his disappearance activates loss aversion, a cognitive bias where losses impact us more strongly than equivalent gains. People who took the Sigma's presence for granted suddenly feel the loss more acutely than they appreciated the presence. This creates a heightened awareness of his value that simply wasn't possible while he was still around. Third, the Sigma's absence triggers the scarcity principle. We value what's rare and inaccessible. The same qualities and contributions that were overlooked when readily available become highly prized when suddenly scarce. This explains why, after a Sigma disappearance, people often make unprecedented efforts to reconnect. Fourth, his departure forces attribution processing. People naturally seek to explain why he left. This mental process often leads to greater recognition of how he was treated and what might have driven him away. Unlike dramatic exits that allow others to blame emotional overreaction, the Sigma's measured departure forces more honest self-reflection. Consider the case of Eric, who quietly exited a toxic workplace after years of having his contributions minimized. In the following months, 3 separate colleagues contacted him, acknowledging the unfair treatment he had received and recognizing how the office atmosphere had deteriorated without his stabilizing presence. For the Sigma male, understanding these psychological mechanisms isn't about manipulation, but about recognizing the natural human responses to his authentic choices. When he acts with integrity from his own values, these psychological impacts follow naturally without any need for calculation or game playing. Chapter 7. Reclaiming your position. The final principle of Sigma disappearance involves knowing when and how to reclaim positions in environments that have properly recalibrated. This isn't about returning to old dynamics, but about establishing new relationships founded on genuine respect and proper valuation. After a Sigma disappearance has created the necessary void and psychological impact, opportunities often emerge to engage on entirely new terms. The key is recognizing when authentic change has occurred versus temporary behaviors designed to regain your presence without substantive respect. Alexander, a Sigma client, had withdrawn from a professional network that consistently exploited his expertise without offering proper credit or compensation. 6 months later, he received multiple offers to rejoin with significantly improved terms, including proper acknowledgement of his contributions and fair compensation for his time. When evaluating whether to reclaim a position, the Sigma male should look for several key indicators. First, have others acknowledged the specific behaviors or conditions that led to his departure? Second, have they demonstrated sustained behavioral change rather than just making promises? Third, are they offering substantively better terms of engagement that properly value his contribution? Reclaiming positions selectively and on new terms reinforces the Sigma's boundaries and standards. It demonstrates that his disappearance wasn't emotional or temporary, but was based on legitimate concerns that required addressing. This further strengthens respect and ensures future interactions remain properly balanced. The Sigma approach to reclaiming positions differs markedly from other styles. Unlike the alpha, who might demand public acknowledgement of his return, or the beta, who might slip back into old patterns of undervaluation, the sigma establishes clear, new expectations and maintains his willingness to walk away again if those expectations aren't met. The ultimate power of the sigma male lies not in his disappearance itself, but in the genuine independence that makes the disappearance possible. When others know you can and will walk away from situations that don't serve your purpose or respect your value, they approach the relationship with an entirely different mindset, one of genuine respect rather than exploitation. Conclusioners. We've explored throughout these 7 chapters, when a sigma male disappears, it isn't just another social tactic. It's the natural consequence of an authentically independent man allocating his finite resources where they're truly valued. The resulting psychological impact isn't manufactured. It's the inevitable response to the removal of genuine value from any social system. The sigma male doesn't disappear to be chased. He disappears to redirect his energy toward worthy pursuits. The respect, recognition, and recalibrated relationships that follow are simply the natural consequences of authentic self-respect and clear boundaries. If you're committed to developing true sigma independence rather than just mimicking surface behaviors, subscribe to Official Sigma Male now. Our channel focuses on developing the genuine inner confidence and purpose that makes external validation unnecessary. Join thousands of men who are mastering the authentic Sigma mindset and creating lives of genuine independence and impact. Remember, a true Sigma male isn't defined by how dramatically he exits situations, but by the clarity with which he chooses where to invest his valuable presence in the first place. Subscribe now and take the first step toward mastering this powerful mindset.